Has learned details about an incident many of you have been asking about.
It involves a situation at 72nd and Western that began Sunday afternoon. It was just after 3 that police learned a man was threatening to jump off the pedestrian bridge in front of Creighton Prep. And given the nature of this, we're not going to name him.
Police say from the beginning they were familiar with him from a similar incident, which also lasted 12 hours. The incident Sunday ended in the middle of the night, 12 hours later. The man was criminally booked into jail after police say he fought with officers after he climbed down.